agency that he wants to turn over to this anti-gun nut. We live in a lawless country. And the only people that can change that are sitting right in front of me. This is your responsibility. This is your responsibility as citizens. If you don't do it now, it may never happen. And maybe down the road, some honest historian a couple of 100 years will remember that for one brief shining moment, a light flickered on the planet Earth, where people were allowed to determine their own futures, where they were allowed to fend for themselves, to exercise personal responsibility, where liberty, rather than central planning, was the solution to the human condition. I'm talking about the Second Amendment. One of the arguments I always get when I talk about the Second Amendment is, well, you know, the founding fathers, you know, I mean, there's a lot of things they couldn't have predicted. I mean, they didn't understand what life would be like in the cities in 2010, 2011. I mean, they couldn't have predicted any of this. I said, yeah, but they predicted one thing very well. He said, what's that? I said, you. Thank you very much. Before we go, I want a round of applause for George and Kenny and Randy. Stand up, guys. You know what drives me crazy? I've been dieting all my life. I can't fit into the jeans that I wore a month ago, and these guys can fit into their uniforms. Somebody help me.
Ladies and gentlemen, give him a big hand. He volunteered his own time and expense to be with us here in Medina today. Give him a big hand. Now, am I to suspect there's a yellow Corvette sitting somewhere around here?
It's home in the garage.
It's home in the garage. It looks like the weather might be threatening.
Well, it's a race car. It's the Z06, and it's so loud you can't even hear the radio, so I decided just to bring the little SUV.
All right, well, God bless you, and thank you for being here. All right, Andy.
He is when he's done.
Who is?
The guy in the blue hoodie right there.
Oh, the blue hat?
Yeah, this is his equipment.
Over there, our son.
I'm sorry I didn't bring my camcorder, but I wanted to see if I can get a copy.
Okay, yeah, just talk to him. You should maybe get an email address or something.
Yeah.
Feedback.
Thank you very much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Annie's going to play another song here for us, and we're going to announce our raffle winners here shortly. Please stick around. We're still going to hear from Chris Long and Rebecca Heimlich here and Robert Owens. So if you can afford to give us a few more moments, we would love to have you here as we come back in just a few minutes. All right, Annie.
So bad all of a sudden.
I have a pen. Pen? Is that I know where I got it because I know the seats. I want to just proud. I want to get something like it.
Time and again I find that I wonder why our world's on fire. Bring me the time for longing to be free and let them be. When you learn how to play the game, they change the rules. But this time it's you and me, we're no fools. Say that these are the times that tribe and soul. God only knows. When you learn how to play the game, they change the rules. But this time we hear what they say, and we're no fools.
She's probably getting her hair done.
When you learn how to play the game, they change the rules. And I pray that we find a way to make it through. Time and again I find that I wonder why our world's on fire. When you learn how to play the game, they change the rules. And I pray that we find a way to make it through. And I pray that we find a way to make it through.
Hi, my name is Lisa Woods. I'm one of the co-founders of Medina County Friends and Neighbors, and I want to thank you all for coming out today. They have some raffles. I want to pick a few tickets here. Okay, the first two tickets are for children's Easter baskets. And we have Patty Martin. Patty Martin? Okay, great. And Victoria Guthrie? Victoria Guthrie. Make your way over to the left here, to the tent, and get your prizes. And now for, this is for one of the adult baskets. Phyllis Johnson. Phyllis Johnson. And the second adult basket is for Norma Jesse. And now for the quilt. This is a beautiful quilt, handmade. F&B Bubbless. F&B Bubblers? Yes.
Well, you gotta, all right, now, Randy, you got to promise not to use this in any court proceeding. Yeah, she's got another engagement.
Okay, and now for the Liberty Ring.
Oh, you certainly.
Sylvia Jones has won the Liberty Ring. Sylvia Jones has won the Liberty Ring.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't on that long for a while. I've heard there's a few of those around, but I'm glad.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you what, we do have a few more items that we're going to draw for here in just a little bit. But right now, we need to have one of our speakers here come forward because he needs your help before you leave tonight. So without giving him a big introduction, I think you all know Chris Long. He's been here on the square with you before, representing the Ohio Christian Alliance, Northeastern Ohio pastor, and a great grassroots organizer here in the area, Chris Long.
Thank you, Matt. It's good to be back with you today. A couple years ago, we were here as we gathered with many tea parties from around the country. We're not done in Washington. They got a lot of problems and they need to hear from you. I want to talk for a few minutes about what we've seen happening here in our state and what we've seen happen in Washington. It's Thomas Jefferson that said that if a nation expects to be ignorant and free in a state of civilization, it expects what never was and never will be. We have a crisis in our country, and it is the national federal debt. Would you agree with that? If we don't do something about this, it presents the largest national security issue of our times. That's not me saying it. That is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Admiral Mullen, said last month that the federal deficit is the #1 issue of national security of our nation. Now that should alarm you. We don't need to be beholden to the Chinese. They're holding the debt right now of you, your grandchildren, and your children. We need to send a clear message to Washington that business as usual is over. Now you say, well, we said that 2 years ago. We said that in November. You need to continue to say it. Let's talk a minute about what happened with this budget compromise. Is there anybody here happy with the budget compromise? Raise your hand. I think the village idiot raised his hand back there. I'm not sure. But you know what? I'm disappointed with the Republicans, that's for sure. That was not enough. In fact, I want them to keep their promise, and so do you. Is that right?
Yeah.
They promised $100 billion in cuts. They promised to repeal Obamacare. This is pretty simple. This is pretty fundamental. This is what they campaigned on. We don't want to hear if, ands, and buts. Now listen, there's some good men and women that we've elected to Congress. And everybody understands that it can't happen overnight. But certainly we need to hold the ground of what we begun to do in November. We need to remind them, and they need to hear from you. And if you're upset, you need to communicate that to them. Pick up the phone, email them, and mail them, and let them know your dissent. Do you understand that? Yeah. Now, you know, as disappointed I am in Mr. Boehner and the Republicans, all I had to do was watch C-SPAN last night. Y'all listening to me? And watch Harry Reid, Chuck Schumer, and Dick Durbin talk about how we need to spend more money and we need to raise taxes. Hello? I was infuriated, are you? You know, I can get upset with the Republicans for they didn't do enough, and all I have to do is change the channel and see what Harry Reid, Chuck Schumer, and the Democrats are doing, and Mr. Obama, with that outrageous proposal that he gave of our future budget, was to knock down what is the rest of hope that we have in this country, cannot stand. And we need to be involved in the presidential election as we start discerning and start vetting the candidates who are going to run in this presidential contest. It is obvious to us now, to hold of Congress is not enough. That the Senate blockades, the presidency blockades what the Republicans wanted to do in cutting $100 billion. They certainly wanted to do that. I personally believe that they gave up too soon. Not that we need to see a government shutdown, but that would be okay. Who was here okay with a government shutdown? Let's hear it. You know, in our office, I talked to some of our elderly that receive Social Security, live in public housing. They understand this. She said, hey, it's okay if they shut it down. We need to stop what's happening right now. I talked to a variety of people that said it was okay. People I thought who would think that it wasn't right to shut down the government. So what were they afraid of? They were afraid of the Democrats and what they were going to say about them. We need to stop that right now. Now you're going to have an opportunity, and if I'm right, was there any congressional members here today? No. They didn't come today. You know what? You need to meet with them. You need to communicate with Mr. Jim Renacci, with Mr. Bill Johnson, with some of our good friends who got elected, but we need to hold them accountable on these votes, do we not? Now, I believe we ought to draw the line, no raising the debt ceiling. Anybody want to join me in that? No raising the debt ceiling. No raising the debt ceiling. We don't have any more money. It's as simple as that. We're all tapped out, and that's the end of it. You know, as we enter into these next days, it is going to take people of fortitude. It is going to take men and women of courage and faith as we go forward and we see some changes in Washington, as we see changes in our country. But we're going to have to stand the ground and stay involved and stay engaged. Now let me talk a few minutes about a bill that we have at the Ohio General Assembly. It's called the Founding of America Documents Bill. When I started this quote, I told you about what Tom Jefferson said, that if a nation expects to be ignorant and free in a state of civilization, it expects what never was and never will be. Well, the Founding of American Documents Bill does something very simple. It mandates that the founding documents of the Declaration of Independence, the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, with the Federalist and Anti-Federalist Papers, the Ohio Constitution, and the Northwest Ordinance are taught to our Ohio high schoolers in the 9th through 12th grades in American government and civics classes. And one of the bill's co-sponsors is here. Raise your hand, Larry. State Senator Larry Obama is helping to co-sponsor that legislation. And I've been working with his staff over the last couple of weeks in pounding out that bill. We think we got a good bill to go through. I spoke to the governor's office yesterday, told him that this is priority. You know, under the Strickland administration, they stripped out the American government and history standards for our schoolers. Do you realize that right now in Ohio schools, if a teacher wanted to in the 5th grade to teach about the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the way that the lesson plans are devised, it is not part of the model curriculum from the Ohio State School Board Association. Why is that? Because under the Strickland administration, they stripped it all out. All the fundamental American history that our children should be learning has been stripped out of the lesson plans of our public schools. What replaced it? Something called Western Hemisphere. To learn about ancient Indian tribes. You know, that's okay, but not for 5th graders. They need to learn about the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, to lay upon foundation, precept upon precept. If we're going to retain this republic, these young people have to grow in appreciation for these founding documents. Are you with me? That is the greatest threat to our country, and the liberals know it. And that's why they sought control of our schools of higher education. They sought control of our schools through the National Education Association and our state school board. Well, the good news is elections mean something. Now we have a majority of conservatives on the Ohio State School Board, and several of them joined us in the press conference at the Ohio State House supporting this legislation. You can learn more by going over to our booth and also call your state senator and urge them to support the Founding of America Documents bill. Would you do that with me? Well, God bless you. You're a great crowd. Thank you for these gentlemen up front. I love this uniform. God bless you.
Thank you, Chris. All right. And if you want to come up, we'll draw for a few more raffle prizes here. Jim and Lisa, are you ready to organize the Bucket Brigade? I don't see Jim out here. I saw him just a minute ago. But Lisa, I'll leave it to you to get it all organized and ready to go. Here he is.